wait. Açıklamaları bekliyorum Gözden. Hemen!
advance on the
ఇన్సూరెన్స్ వాళ్ళు లెటర్ ఇస్తే అయిపోయింది అన్న వాడు ఇస్తారన్నాడు 2-3 దినాలు అయ్యాల డ్యూటీ లేట్ అవుతుంది కదా అంత లోపల దాన్ని అప్డేట్
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay. Fine. We'll start soon. Mr. Kaushik, are you here, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, all right. We'll just start soon. In another 5 to 10 minutes. How is everyone? How are you? How is everyone doing? I'll just we'll start in another 5 minutes. Just waiting for everyone to join in. No, also everyone, just keep yourselves muted.
Bolly Zumba.
Okay. Then Kaushik, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. I'll just start with the session then, if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to Kanyathon Health Shot Series once again. And I am Afif, your host for this session. Kanyathon is an annual charity sports event organized by the students of our prestigious IFIM institutions, JAXOM and Vijayabhumi University to empower the girl child. I'm very proud to say that we're back with its 11th edition. A quick segment to remind everyone to keep their heads up, as there will be a health buzz quiz based on today's session. So be on the lookout and stay alert. As you stand a chance to win Amazon gift vouchers, you can answer by visiting their Instagram handle of Kanyathon 2022. And please make sure to use the hashtags provided in the chat box. On the chase for the race of life, we tend to lose focus we tend to lose focus on the long-term objective. Life is about hitting milestones at a constant pace. Life can be, in fact, put up as a marathon itself. Today, we have with us someone conquering these milestones in his own right, Mr. Kaushik Sunder. Kaushik Sunder is an avid marathoner currently pursuing his PhD at NYU Abu Dhabi. He has finished 5 marathons across 2 continents so far. 3 of them have been under the coveted sub 4 hour mark. He enjoys the realm of biomechanics and fitness to a great degree, which made him switch to a plant based diet. After learning a lot about nutrition, he's trying to qualify for the Boston Marathon and has been training for it for quite some time to go under the 3 hour mark in the marathon. He also does hope to clinch the Abbott World Major Marathon medal someday. One of his dreams is to be able to run a marathon across every country in the world. It is my immense pleasure to welcome you, sir, to Kanyathon 2022. Hello, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Afiq, for
so
the
much.
warm introduction.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and being a part of this grand event. And it's a great pleasure to have you with us today. And I'll just start. How are you feeling today? How has the day been?
I'm feeling excited to talk to so many
Excited.
people.
Okay. I mean, I'll just start off with a cliche question, but I think it's a great starting point for this discussion. It's just to get to know you more. Exactly, is that what exactly got you into running marathons? Was there like a person or something, or was it an incident? Like what got you into marathons?
Yeah, so the main reason I started it was because I wanted a sense of discipline in my life. As in, there was no sense of discipline. Like,
Hello.
Yeah, sorry.
You're audible now.
Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah. So I needed a sense of discipline, and I needed like something to fall back on for being disciplined, and that was lacking in my life. So basically, I wanted to just try to do something just by looking at other people around me, because they were doing some tremendous things. Being from a cultural city like Bangalore, and it's one of the most popular cities in India for startups and other ventures. So I wanted to do something by myself so that I could inspire people, do something out of the blue, do something kind of get myself motivated to push my limits as such. So that's what got me into this realm. And the main motivation was I was kind of overweight to begin with. So I wanted to start shedding some weight. And I started initially by walking, and then eventually transitioned over to running, and it became a passion and a hobby.
Okay, that is an interesting point. You said you spoke a bit about discipline. Was there like a specific incident or something, a self-discovery almost, that led you to having that feeling that, okay, I want more discipline in my life or something like that?
Yes, one of the key things that happened was I was kind of like oversleeping and not being, like good enough in my personal life as such. So like there were times where I would hit the snooze button multiple times, wake up really late, not care about things around me, not like just be casual about things. And as a person, I didn't want to be that, because I realized that discipline is what sets you apart from other folks. There's this really interesting book that I read. It's called Discipline Equals Success. So basically it kind of got me intrigued to learn more about what discipline can fetch you in life. And yeah, basically the lethargic me wanted to change. That's what got me started.
Okay, and have you, like, slowly after getting deeper into this activity of marathon running, like, have you noticed a pattern of how it changed your life, or like how it progressed?
Oh yeah, it completely transformed the way I started looking at things and the way I perceived things, and it helped me in all disciplines of life per se. So the first and foremost, like there are 7 different disciplines that it taught me. So first discipline is the physical discipline, which is your body itself, as in you are in better shape when you're running marathons. The second discipline is the spiritual discipline, wherein it tries to integrate the inner consciousness within us. And it just shows us that we are all human at the end of the day, and we don't have any limits to set for ourselves. And the third discipline is the intellectual discipline, as in you start perceiving things better, and it makes you kind of question upon certain things that you are constantly on the lookout for, as in it makes you a better individual to analyze things, to question things. The fourth discipline is the environmental discipline, obviously, because you're out there in nature, and with the advent of high-rise buildings and all the technology stuff that we are involved in, I think we have lost a certain sense of connection with the nature. So it helps you connect back with the environment that we've grown up in. And that's the fourth discipline. The fifth discipline is the financial discipline, as in you get to question yourself on how much you're spending, how much of budgeting you're like taking care of it. And like that realm also improved for me. I started seeing a significant difference in that. And social discipline. So social wise, like when there's people out there, there are people who kind of find it really hard to go and interact with people. And by running, you improve that self-confidence in yourself, as in you can see that significant change by which your the way you talk to people improves dramatically, because you're more confident about yourself as you're doing something, right? So you can go and talk to people freely without being judged. And the final discipline I would like to touch upon is the emotional discipline. It makes you a little bit more empathetic, as in you can feel pain, or you can feel all these things in other people as well, and other creatures as well. So that's why I actually went on a plant-based diet completely, because I could see the pain that animals endure, and learned a lot about the dairy industry and all of those things. So that's what happened to me after I started running. It was a significant, drastic change in thoughts.
That was really interesting to hear. I just want to touch upon a point you made. You talked about switching to a plant-based diet. I just want to clarify something. Was it like a plant-based diet, or is it like a vegan diet? Or
so a vegan diet or a plant-based diet is pretty much the same thing. There are certain nuances that many people like to point out, but I pretty much stuck to vegetarian diet. But if I'm training really seriously, I stick to the vegan diet, which completely avoids sources of animal sources like milk, cheese, honey, all these things that are derived from animals. And what I significantly started noticing is that it has inner meaning as well, as in you feel more connected to things, and it helps you, as you can already see that running is a sport like that involves a lot of concentration, and it helps you become more conscious about your surroundings. In my perspective, that's what happened to me. So with that being considered, the plant-based diet was a no-go to me, because I started following athletes all over the world, and some of them eventually, they were like, we feel so good on this diet, and we feel really like hitting the miles as such. And I wanted to try it for myself. And without a doubt, I can say that it has beneficially helped me in the long run. And there's a significant, that there are studies that show significant effects of it, reducing cholesterol, making you more, healthier. And these benefits, I wanted to learn more about these benefits. So I started implementing it in my life.
Okay, and what was the one of the can you note down like a few points, like a few changes that you noticed when you switched over? And was the process easy to adapt to, or was there like a curve to the adaptation?
There was definitely a huge learning curve to the adoption, obviously, because a lot of people they don't know how to start out with the vegan diet. So they eventually they say that, oh, this is a very tough diet. Oh, this is gonna be an expensive one, and there are so many other factors that are involved when you're switching over your diet. So the key thing I basically learned was that I could learn things on the internet because it's a free resource. And I started following elite athletes like Scott Jurek, who actually ran the Western States endurance race, which is a 100-mile endurance race in the California region. And he won it 7 times. And that intrigued me to a great degree as to how he was able to win it 7 times consecutively. And when I eventually dug up on the literature and the way how he trains himself, he told that the simple secret sauce recipe is a plant-based diet. As in, your recovery times improve after your runs, and there is also a huge benefit that your body undergoes with these kinds of diets, because there's like a lot of studies that show that it reduces your your like fatigue levels to a great degree, and I personally seen that happen to me. So yeah, the learning curve was in fact a huge process, because many people say that you don't get enough proteins, or you don't get enough calcium, or you don't get any of these things. But there are several different folk out there that like introduce you to the vegan diet. Like if you just type how to go vegan on YouTube, and you're gonna have plenty of resources out there who people who share things from their perspective. So yeah, I would definitely say that it was a big learning curve for me initially, but now that I've gotten used to it, it's I feel really good being on a vegetarian or vegan diet for over 3 years now.
Okay, that was really amazing to listen to. And just jumping off to that point, I just want to ask you something. Is that like, was there any inspirations or any figures that drove you towards this path?
Yeah, there were multiple figures. So the main figure for me is Eliud Kipchoge. He's like a Kenyan runner, and the way he talks about running is that itself is like such a wonderful thing to listen to. He's like trying to so he's the marathoner who broke the 2-hour mark recently unofficially, and running a marathon under 2 hours is just insane. So he like talks about the way in which no human is limited, and that's what inspired me to a massive degree. As in, he told that the limitations exist in our mind, and that was really impactful on my life, because it does. In fact, if you think you can't do something, you can't do it. But if you actually go ahead and tell that, hey, I'm going to do it, and self-believe in yourself to a great degree, then anything is possible. So he tells every individual that he meets or comes across that no human is in fact limited, and limitations is what sets us like it doesn't help us. So I generally tend to tell people that, hey, why are you self-rejecting yourself? Why don't you have self-belief in yourself? And that's what he's one of my major inspirations. And he leads such a simple and humble life despite being one of the greatest marathoners on planet Earth. And you tend to look up to such people, and you draw inspiration from them, and you grow as an individual, both in the professional realm and in the athletic realm. So yeah, he has been a monumental figure in my life.
That was amazing again. I just coming off that point is about inspirations. I just want to ask you, was there any moment when you were marathoning, like, it suddenly hit you that it was like a very, like, it was a very joyful moment or something like that, something like that? Have you ever had that moment while you were marathon? Because it is a very strenuous process. Like, speaking from my personal experience, I've only ran, I think, 2 marathons, but they were like mainly charity marathons, but I knew the struggle to get past even that 10-kilometer mark. So I just want to know, like, have you had that moment when you were marathoning, and how was that feeling like?
Yes, I had that moment that you're talking about. So I had like a insane dopamine rush at the end of my first marathon that went under sub 4, and I didn't train for a sub 4. So for those of you who don't know, sub 4 is a mark that is in a marathon where you go under the 4 hour mark, as in you run 42 kilometers under 4 hours. And the first time I ever ran it was in 2019, January 2019, at Louisiana Marathon. And when I touched that 3 hour 50-minute mark, I couldn't believe my watch. So I actually had a training partner, and we trained together. And I thought he was going to end up beating me in the marathon, but it looks like I was half an hour ahead of him. He finished at 4 hours 20 minutes, and I finished at 3 hours 50 minutes. And I was on a completely plant-based diet for 2 months. And that's where I started noticing the difference that a plant-based diet makes to training. Before this, I ran my first marathon in Bangalore, and my timing was like 5 hours 5 minutes or something like that. And I started seeing that 1 hour 25-minute jump, and eventually I was drawn to the plant-based diet. I'm like, wow, this is actually working on me, and this is beneficial to me. And that was the like wow moment for me in marathoning, hitting the sub 4 hour mark for the first time. And consistently I hit it for 3 other marathons as well. And yeah, the learning curve has been insane.
Was there anything that you did different between those 2 marathons other than the plant-based diet, that helped you hit that sub 4? Or was there anything that stood out to you, like, after you reflected on it?
Yes, there were multiple things. So I started following elite athletes, as in my training plans wasn't as effective as they were before. So after that, my training plans became more regimented. I started implementing a training plan by a person called Hal Higdon. He's one of the legends in the marathon realm. And implementing his training plan, I learned more about what milestones I could achieve, what distances I could hit, how much of calorie intake I needed to take, what are the electrolytes involved, all these different things that you tend to learn about your own body. So I would say, yeah, my training regimen and the way I started training, or as such, like preparing my mind, slowly shifted over the durations of these 3 runs.
So how does your training process usually look like? Do you train with a person, like a partner, or do you have a group, or do you just do it solo?
I generally tend to do it solo on most occasions, mostly because of time conflicts, and I have my own personal schedule being a PhD student. So I tend to like do whatever works for me. But at times I have trained with groups. So when I was in Boston, I used to train with a group called Forest Hill Runners. They were pretty diverse, and they were all like top-notch people. Most of them had done like 8 Boston marathons, 7 Boston marathons, and they were like really insane folk there. So what I end up doing is I train by myself these days, but I take inputs and variables from other people, as in what they were doing, how they were training, how could they hit those milestones, how they could implement so they run like something called mile markers. So they used to run a mile under 6 minutes or 5 minutes, and it was really cool seeing them, because I could never do that even now. And I was like, how do they do this? So they have like really fast twitching muscles, and they basically they go out and train even in the cold. And that's what I tend to learn, like I've learned over the duration of my training, all these small nuances that you see. So typically my training is all by myself. But if at all I find a group, I would definitely love to train with them, because you learn more from people who are professionals and are good at this.
Hmm. Just coming off the point, you mentioned that you are a PhD student currently. So you're pursuing your PhD while you're also pursuing your career further into marathoning. I
Yes.
just wanted to ask, I mean, especially, us being students, I just want to ask, how do you find that balance between like academics and then also, pursuing your career as an athlete? Do you have any formula for that, or like any way that, others could also use that?
I don't know if you guys have watched Kung Fu Panda, but from that I draw the inspiration of the secret soup. The secret ingredient of the secret soup is nothing. It's just keep it simple. That's it. So I just keep everything simple and try to not overcomplicate things. As in, I kind of strict. I like make my mind ahead of time. As in, I would go ahead and schedule my things. As in my mind, mentally, I'll have a picture saying, hey, you know what, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. So like I kind of have to strictly like channel my thoughts. As in, if I'm doing something for the day, I will plan out my day ahead of time, and that kind of helps me. And I also subconsciously have my training plans stuck up here above my laptop, so that whenever I'm seeing it, I'm kind of like motivated to go out there and do things. And I would say write down your goals, because writing one time is better than reading 10 times. That's what my mom used to always tell me. So I always write down the goals that I have and try to achieve them to the best possible extent. Obviously, because of all of these new drawn things that are coming in, like the pandemic and other stuff, there's obviously things that won't work in your favor. But eventually, even if you have planned something out, there's a certain possibility that you can execute it to a fair amount of degree, even if it's not 100% correct. So I typically like to plan things out and write things down, jot things down. So that way, it's not only beneficial for now, but even for the long run, as in it builds you as an individual, both professionally and personally.
Okay. That was really insightful again. Um, just coming off that, I just wanted to ask you, what does your normal day look like? Like, how does your training procedure look like for a day? And I also wanted to ask, based on that, like, has the pandemic caused you to adapt that training schedule that you had, or has it made you change your schedule?
Yes. So before the pandemic, I was a more strict and disciplined person, I would say, with my running and all of these things. But with the onset of the pandemic, some of the gym just shut down. Some of the training facilities were not open. There were mask mandates. There were all sorts of commotions that happened. So eventually, I had to kind of like tweak between going outdoors and going indoors for my training plans. And somehow I've tried to accommodate it, but at the same time, there's like a little bit of trouble being motivated enough, because even if you're going out there, there's like a virus that's out there. So I'm just like I'm trying to keep myself from getting it, because there are long-term implications of getting the virus, is what I've heard from several different folks out there. There's actually one of my favorite runners that I follow. His name is Jacob Kuzi, and he was really he's an ultra distance runner, and he's done the Western States endurance race multiple times, and he actually got influenza virus or something like that, and he's been hospitalized and bedridden for like a while. So all these things, I mean, I get affected by all these things, so I take precautions. So the training plan strictly is mostly like tempo runs, fartleks, long distances, Yaso 800s, and so on and so forth. If you're not familiar with them, you can Google these terms. So I typically stick to the regimen of whatever Hal Higdon has to say, and he's my go-to guy for training plans. you can look him up on Google and find a lot of training plans that he has to offer, ranging from 5K all the way to 50K, I guess. Yeah.
Okay. And coming off of that, like training plans, this is a question for people starting off. So as we are hosting Kanyathon 2022, we expect a lot of people to be running their marathon for the first time. So do you have any tips for them? Anyway, like for the first time getting into something that's totally new?
Yeah, for sure. So the amateur mistake that I made was I was trying to compare myself with other folks, and that could significantly have an impact on your overall well-being as such. As in, when you're trying to compete in a marathon, you don't want to be beating someone else. It's all about you beating yourself. So the first time I ran, I was trying to beat like a few people. I was trying to be better than them. I was trying to go out there and give it all my all, like, all those kinds of things. And I just did not. I would suggest everyone out here not to do that, because it's your fitness goal at the end of the day and not someone else's. So take it slow, take it easy, and just look out for that finish line and go grab it. That's all I have to say.
Do you have any technical tips like regarding pacing or like, I don't know, fluid consumption, something like that for people?
Yes. So I have something like for myself, I can share that with you guys. So after every 16 kilometers, I've trained myself enough so that, I don't need any gels or hydration till 15 or 16 kilometer mark. But at the 16 kilometer mark, I take my first gel, and that builds on. So at 16, I take my first gel. Then after the next 5 kilometers, I take my second gel. Oh yeah, so pre-race, don't forget to stretch pre-race, because it's very essential, and because you might end up with cramps otherwise. So stretch before the race and consume enough number of calories 3 days before the marathon, because there's a carbohydrate buildup that happens, as in your glycogen reserves get depleted very quickly during the duration of the marathon. So 3 days before the marathon, I would recommend all of you to consume a high calorie diet, rich in proteins and carbohydrates mostly, and fats if you can. But that is very critical, because you can just go from 100 to 0 if you don't consume good enough number of calories in the last 3 days before the marathon. It's actually called tapering, if you don't know about it. So your running distance reduces before the marathon, but your appetite increases over the duration of the before the marathon. So there's like so here's the thing: 3 days before the run, start eating a lot, okay, and then 3 days before the run, start decreasing your distance for your training. That's typically how the fluctuations work. And obviously pre-race, on the day of the race, consume a banana or two, because that's going to help with your metabolism and glycogen, and give you that boost for the first few kilometers. And once you hit that mark where you feel really thirsty, or you need to consume electrolytes or whatever food, just go for it. I think there are aid stations that are going to be out there at every 10 kilometers or 5 kilometers, and just grab that, and eventually transition over to the second half of the race. The first half of the race would be 21, and the second half would be the next 21. So during that, I would recommend like grabbing a few gels like Cliff or Goosh energy shots, and again trying to eat a few bananas on the way as such. And yeah, if you ever feel the need to use the restroom, please feel free to. Don't hold it back, because it's gonna affect you in the run as such. So these are some of the tips that I have.
Okay. Do you have you encountered any tips or hacks that that you have found that was unique to you, and can you share them with us?
Yeah, actually, I did encounter one hack, if I remember correctly. So the shoes matter a lot for me, as in I need to be comfortable in the shoe I'm wearing for my running to be effective. If I'm not comfortable in my shoe, it's going to result in a lot of shoe bites, and all these unnecessary things that you would want to avoid before you get into the run. So get comfortable in your shoes, and make sure you apply Vaseline to the areas that you feel discomfort in, because this is really it's good, because you don't want to have blisters after the marathon. So apply it to your toes, apply it to the areas that you feel would need would have chafing. So that's one of the tips that I have to give. Apply lubrication for all the areas that you feel are essential, and be comfortable in the shoes. Also try to listen, like I tend to listen to music when I'm running. So if you guys you can listen to music. Make sure your earphones don't clog up when you're running. All these small little nuances that you'll figure out if you're comfortable with your own, the way you're running. So.
Okay. And like, I just want to ask you, what was the biggest hurdles that you faced while you were marathoning, when you were starting off as well? What were the things that you noticed that you could have done differently?
Yeah. So one of the biggest hurdles I faced was lack of motivation. Obviously, since I was going all by myself and alone, it was really difficult to keep my, myself motivated to go and do it. So I would say keep a logger. As in, I was logging all my journey through Instagram, so I kept that as my logger so that I could inspire more people to run, and that's how I began. And keep a logger, whatever helps for you guys. Work with that, and definitely learn more about your own body before you step into like a marathon, because sometimes I've heard people tearing their ACLs and other things by running. So it's better to take precaution before you jump into something as much as a marathon. Probably do a half marathon or a 10K before you actually want to step into this zone. So yeah, that was a hurdle. And the other hurdle was I was not stretching enough. So I had rolled ankles at times, and it was just really uncomfortable getting myself to heal quickly because of the rolled ankle. And this happened because I was not stretching before the run. And that's why I emphasize a lot on stretching and getting yourself prepared for going ahead and running a marathon. So that's one thing. And another thing was hydration. Hydration is very critical. So sometimes I used to just go out on an empty stomach, and I would come back and be really, really, really hungry. So don't let that happen to you. Try to hydrate yourself with glucose or glucon D or any of that, and just watch out for those things that may throw you off. And as they say, health is always primary. So watch out for your health. Don't try to overdo things.
And you mentioned a bit about injuries. Is there any tips that people overlook that could help you prevent any injuries or anything like that?
Main way to avoid injuries is by stretching, as I mentioned earlier. But the other way to avoid injuries is sometimes when you are running in such large groups, what ends up happening is you bump into each other at times. So watch out for that as well, because sometimes people may be taking water. I've personally seen this happen. There was a person who took a water can, and then he randomly went and bumped into another person out there in the race. And because you're at such a phase or stage of your mind where you don't know what you're doing, because you're all over the place. It's called the runner's high. So that could result in tremendous injuries. So it's good to watch out for small signs like that. Be aware of your surroundings. Be more present in the situation, because if you let your thoughts wander, it's going to obviously result in an injury. So better to better to stay cautious. And when you feel something is wrong, listen to your body. Even though I may have run 5 marathons and I have the experience of going and training and all that, even if I feel down or if I feel bad on that particular day, I always listen to my body and I shut my training off. Like I don't train. So listening to your body is the most critical thing you can do. If you don't listen to your body, you will result in injuries. And I've also been in the ultra circuit for a bit. Ultra is anything that is beyond the realm of marathons, as in anything beyond 42 kilometers. Even in those runs, it's always good to listen to your body. Never ever question that, because some of the pro athletes always discuss this. They talk about how one bad run can result in injury for your life. So just don't get into that zone and avoid all sorts of tears and injuries, and just listen to your body. If you feel like it's not gonna work out for you, just stop. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. It's your body at the end of the day. So stop, and you can always bounce back. So yeah, I've personally had a lot of injuries happen to me. That's why I'm telling it out of experience.
Do you have any tips for like getting back into rehabilitation and like starting your training after a minor injury or something like that?
Yeah, sure. So there's something called physiotherapy that I'm sure a lot of folks have heard. Physiotherapy is the one good way in which you can bounce back after rehabilitation. And there's also so the main region that gets affected in running is called the iliotibial band, which is the IT band. And the IT band runs all the way from your toe, from your foot to your hip region. So when you're training, that band actually gets stretched a lot. And I know a couple of friends who've actually damaged that IT band. And there's also a nerve called the sciatic nerve that runs up your spine. So these two are very critical for running, and it can be really harmful for your long-term health. So working on stretching these muscles through rubber bands, like you have those exercise bands, right? Those rubber exercise bands. You can work on strengthening these muscle groups or bands through those this rubber bands. And just if you're ever stuck in that zone of bad injury, go and consult a physiotherapist, because they are your go-to solution, or an exercise physician, because they've specialized in this. So
do you have any tips to stay motivated while on a marathon, like as it gets harder and harder, to not give up?
Yeah, remember the reason why you started. That's all I have to say, because you signed up for it, right? It's if somebody forced you to sign up for it, then I don't have anything to say. But it's you versus you at the end of the day. You signed up for it. You are going to do it. You're going to achieve it. So why did you sign up for it? What was the reason? Did you want to inspire yourself? Did you want to inspire others? Did you want to go and see what your body is capable of? Is the question, I ask myself every time I run a race. So ask yourself why you signed up for it. And every time you feel like stopping, say, I'm better than this. I'm going to do it. And that's how I keep myself motivated throughout the run. And obviously following some of those top people out there in the sport, they teach you a little bit of how the consciousness works. Doesn't you're being, it's you exploring your limits, right, with a marathon. So they emphasize on the fact that, you just look at all the people out here. It's so beautiful. You're running and you're improving yourself. So ask yourself why you signed up for it, and you'll see the finish line in no time.
Great. That was very, very interesting. And coming off of that, have there been any experiences where you have like, you felt like I have to, this is it, I'm pushing myself to the limit, but then you've like pushed yourself even further?
Yeah. So in my last marathon, it was after the pandemic. So I actually had a slight trouble at 30 kilometers. So what happened is I overstretched my like limits, and I had like a lot of GI issues with my tract and stuff. So I had to use the restroom, and I was like on the verge of kind of like not being able to finish it. But the one thing that kept me going was I can do it. I mean, like I've done a couple more before, and I think I can push my limit. So I ended up pushing my limit, even though I was not happy with my time. I still got a sub 4, but I finished it. Like I was really enthralled with that, because I happened to overcome whatever I thought I couldn't. Like those thoughts are always fluctuating during a run. It's like you can do it, you can't do it, you can do it, you can't do it. But the thing is, you can do it should win over the thoughts of you can't do it. So those small little things happen over the duration of any run. You being able to overcome that shows you of how your mental fortitude is. It's about those small little wins, you see. And then now I can share that thing with you guys because I overcame it. So it's like you feel good at the end of the day. Yeah, I've had my fair share of those mental hurdles during the duration of those 5 marathons I've run, and every single time I challenge myself to being better than my excuses, and that's what helped me finish them.
Do you have any tips for developing a pace when you're starting off? Because I feel like an issue that I faced was like to get that constant pace going in a marathon. Like I would go a certain pace, then I drop it, then I go again. How do I make it constant? Do you have any tips for beginners?
Yes. So for beginners, the one tip I like to share is when you're starting out, say it's your first week of ever running, ever even stepping foot on running or doing things. If it's your first week, just take it slow. Finish 2 kilometers. That's fine. Finish a kilometer. It's fine. But at least you're lapping the people on the couch. Think about it. Like you're doing better than them. So or you're doing better than yourself rather. So forget comparisons. So you're doing a kilometer or you're doing 2 kilometers. The gold standard, or generally what people tell you, is to improve the distance by 1% every week. Sorry, 10% every week. So if you're doing 2 kilometers the first week, improve your distance to 2.2 kilometers the next week. So like this, gradually step up. And this is the first milestone for your pacing, because you're eventually increasing the distance. At the same time, you're taking a note of your pace. So if you're noting down your pace, say you have 2 kilometers to finish and you're taking 20 minutes, that's totally fine. So in the first week, the first day, you're running it at 10 kilometers. It's going to be like 1 kilometer every 10 minutes. That's totally fine. But then on the next day, make sure that and go and log this. As in, if you finish it, go and log it. Yeah, I ran 10 kilometers. 2 kilometers in 20 minutes. And when you log it, your subconscious mind will eventually look at it and be like, I can improve. And the next day you probably go out and you'll run 2 kilometers in 18 minutes or 16 minutes. And that kind of builds up. And then eventually your distance also increases, right? So the next week you'll be running 2.2 kilometers. So by the end of first week, you would have probably finished like your 2 kilometers in 14 minutes or 12 minutes, let's say. So if you finished it in 12 minutes, you're already improving your pace in small distances. This will eventually gradually add up to bigger distances, and you'll end up increasing your pace for like the marathon or half marathon, whatever you're doing. So I would say start small, start with small goals, and then eventually transition to bigger goals.
I just wanted to ask you a question. Like now that you're getting into this world of marathoning and marathon running, have you ever thought of like going beyond it? Is there any other activity that, other than marathoning, that has attracted you in a similar fashion?
Any other activity apart from marathon is what you're asking me?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I want to eventually get into triathlons, like hopefully during my PhD. I'm not sure if I can pull it off, but I want to get into triathlon, the realm of the swimming, cycling, and running, because I am not good at swimming or cycle. I'm good at cycling, but I'm not good at swimming, and I want to learn how to be able to swim. I'm always looking at Navy SEALs and people from the Indian Army, how they're able to achieve these crazy, tremendous feats of being able to swim, help people, rescue passengers, all of these things. And I just want to be able to try and incorporate some of that if I can, you know. So I would definitely like to get into the realm of Ironman if you've not heard of it. Ironman is a distance, as in you have half Ironman and you have full Ironman. Ironman consists of swim, bike, and run. So basically, half Ironman. Yeah, sorry.
No, go on. I was listening.
Yeah, sure. So half Ironman consists of 70.3 miles. Essentially, it is 21 kilometers of running. So it's called a swim, bike, run phase. As in, you have swimming, you have biking, and the final stretch of the leg is your running. So for swimming, you have certain miles. For biking, you have certain miles, and running, you have certain miles. So the half Ironman essentially breaks down into the swim phase of about, I guess, 1.8, 1.9 miles. I may be wrong in that. The biking phase of 90 kilometers and the running phase of 21.1 kilometers. So the total distance in miles adds up to 70.3, and that's why it's called Ironman 70.3, which is a half Ironman. And then there's a full Ironman, which most people dream of doing. And in the full Ironman, you have 140.6 miles to be completed, and that's a whole other ball game together, because in addition to running a marathon, you have to be able to cycle and swim. So people typically take about 14 hours or 17 hours to finish it, and it's just insane on how far the human mind can stretch.
What is the longest distance that you've ran? Have you recorded it?
I think it was just 44 kilometers, nothing
Okay.
more than that. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't explored the realm of ultras, but
Okay.
once I explore the realm of ultras, there's like.
Wait, so how long are ultras exactly? Are they
anything more than a marathon is an ultra? So the most typical standard for an ultra is a 50K, as in you have a 50-kilometer race, and then you have a 100-kilometer race, and then you have more than that. So I have a couple of friends who do more than these distances that you can think of, as in more than a marathon, and it blows me on how they can do it. So yeah, I have a couple of friends who do like 200-mile races. So they've done like a 250-mile race, which roughly translates to 300 or 350 kilometers, I guess. And it's just crazy what you can do.
How long does that take to complete on an
Oh,
average?
so like, yeah. So the thing is, they're like trekking or camping out there in those races, and it takes typically anywhere from 48 hours to 72 hours for them to finish those races. Yeah.
Okay. Or have there been any, like, what were the biggest hurdles you faced while you were marathoning, like in the process?
Biggest hurdles? Yeah, like I said, one of the hurdles was my diet was absolutely bad. And when you start running, you start seeing that your gut health needs to improve, because if you're eating like crap, your training will be crap, your performance will be crap. That's how it is. So if you clean that diet up, and I'm not saying go plant-based or anything, you can do what works for you, but you have to be really conscious about what you're eating. They say that abs are made in the kitchen, and that's very true, because it's 80% of what you eat is who you are. And I would highly say that it's like 80-20 ratio. 80% of what you end up training is in the kitchen, and 20% of what you actually train is actually in the training ground. So clean up your diet, because I experienced eating really bad food and not performing well. So that's the major hurdle I faced firstly. And second hurdle I faced was, with the, the way in which you start like perceiving things. People around you are going to question, oh, what, you're running now, you're hitting the gym now, and things like that. So, try to avoid that zone of being influenced by people around you. Just do what you want to do. And you can probably be in my position and give a talk to so many people, you feel good at the end of the day. So I would say avoid that zone of, going and somebody trying to,
getting into some negative atmosphere.
Yeah, getting into that negative zone of someone trying to influence you. Oh, so what, you're running now? Huh? Oh, you're going to gym, huh? Like the typical way in which people react.
Yeah.
So I would say that's one of the key things I faced, being a social person. So I did not listen to people, and I'm just like doing things out there. Not getting influence is a major thing. And the final thing is, I wasn't taking a note of the way in which I trained. So that was affecting me because I was underperforming. And when I started noting down and jotting down points of how I performed, how much I can improve, what points I can, like draw inspiration from, who are these other people out there, learn more about other people who are doing these crazy things, because that helps you, question your, whatever ideologies that you have. So that kind of helped me. With the advent of technology, it's almost easy to reach out to any individual and ask them, hey, how do you guys train? And that's how I'm here giving a talk. Somebody reached out to me, they asked me to share my inputs, and possibly if you ask somebody to share their inputs with you, they would be free and happy to do so. So that one of the hurdles I faced was the lack of resources and motivation. But now I feel like I have plenty, so I'm happy to help at any time. If anybody wants to, you can reach out.
Okay. Before I ask my next question, I'd like to let the audience know that if you have any questions for our speaker today, you can put it down in the chat. I'll read it down to him as well. My next question, before we slowly wind up, is that you spoke a lot about nutrition today. So I just want to know, do you have any way for people to find out what would work for them? Is there any signs that they should look for?
So I actually tried emphasizing a plant-based diet. So I had a running group back in Bangalore, and I tried emphasizing my diet to them. But what I ended up realizing is we're all individuals, and each individual body is very unique and very different, and reacts extremely different to different scenarios, different conditions, different foods, and all that. So if your body is already preconditioned to take in a certain kind of nutrition or certain kind of diet, it's obviously going to function in that fashion. So I would recommend people to try restricting diet. As in, for me, intermittent fasting worked to a great degree when I was training, because you burn your fats at a greater pace. So trying to tweak around the way or time at which you consume diet helps, right? So I won't say what to eat, but I would say what intervals you can eat. That plays a significant role. So yeah, I think trying to play with the 16:8. So the 16 hours is basically when you fast, and the 8-hour period is when you eat. That works for me as such. Sometimes I even go for a 20-hour fast and a 4-hour phase of when I'm eating. So intermittent fasting, and I just play around with my diet to understand. Unless and until you do run or you do train, you won't be able to realize what works for you and what doesn't. So I don't have any other further comments on that.
Okay, that was insightful again, as always. Just before we wind up, I want to thank you so much for taking your time up. I mean, we could go on and on regarding this, but I don't want to be taking up any more of your time. And we are very grateful for you to lend this 1 hour to us. And before winding up, I'll just ask you one question. Is there any rule, quote, or ideology that you live or die by, or something that has pushed you? And could you share that with us?
As in, you mean like what ideology I follow?
no, like, has there been like a, a quote or a idea, like,
Oh,
something?
quote. Okay.
I'll give an example, like something like that. It could
Yeah.
be a quote, experience, idea, some.
Yeah. So, like I said, Elevate
Hello?
is my go-to guy. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me? Yeah.
You're
So
audible.
yeah, the Kenyan
You're audible.
marathoner Eliud Kipchoge has been my inspiration for a long time, and I already mentioned this earlier, I guess. And the inspirational quote is, "No human is limited, so don't limit yourself." That's pretty much the way I would like to function or to work. And if you limit yourself, then you're actually trying to impose those limitations on others as well. Subconsciously, it does happen, because if you're doing things, people around you also feel like doing things. So the thing is, I just go by the quote, "No human is limited," and I certainly feel that way too after interacting with so many people. No human is limited. That's it.
That's very inspirational and very, that was really nice to listen to. And that's a quote that we all can live and go by and take up an example for whatever we pursue. And again, I would like to extend our heartiest thanks to you for taking your time out and interacting with us, and sharing your valuable experience with us. And,
Absolutely, it's my pleasure.
yeah, we would always love to have you back here again to give us even more thoughts and inspirations. Before we wind up, as I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a quiz of the day, so I'll just lay down the question right now. So in the earlier half of this session, our host Kaushik Sunder sir, he mentioned the name of a book to read. So that is the question of the day. If you remember the name, go to our Instagram handle and then go put it down there, and you would stand a chance to win amazing gift vouchers and all. And last but not least, I would like to thank our sponsors without whom this would not be possible. Our NGO partner Cry, fitness partner Culfit, skin and hair partner Cosmoderma, breakfast partner Unibic, nutritional partner Yoga Bar, and snack partner Licious. And finally, our electronics partner Baron Electronics. I hope that all of you had a great and wonderful learning experience with our guest today. And I would also like to request all of you to tune in with us tomorrow at 7 a.m. for the next health short session. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Kaushik Sunder sir, again for taking
no
your
problem.
time out.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Is the floor open for questions?
I guess it was. I mean, do we have any questions? I'll just ask it out then. There was a question regarding how you manage education, work, training, and everything in a pack, but I asked that a bit earlier, I feel.
Yeah,
So
yes.
if anyone has any questions you want to ask, here is a few minutes. Anyone? Any questions? I guess not. Thank you again, sir. Then I won't be taking up any more of your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
no
so
problem.
much. Thank you so much. It was really amazing listening to you.
Please call me Kaushik. I feel overwhelmed.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Kaushik.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
all right, and all the best for your future endeavors, whatever it may
Thank
be.
you. And good luck to everyone here running the marathon. I hope I could inspire you guys in some way. That's the least I could do.
You could also join us during the.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. If you guys have a virtual run, I don't mind. Yeah.
There is a virtual run going on actually.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'll just end the meeting then here.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.